Kia ora, good evening, and welcome to the Huddy Hui, our second episode for the week. And we finally managed to get the Silverstream first 15 on the show. They've been a bit afraid of the Huddy Hui curse that's been going around this season, first 15 rugby. If you come on, you end up losing. But tonight we've finally got two of the Year 13s in the first 15 on, Captain Toby Mallon and Connor Vlas. Many thanks for coming on the Hui men. Your reflections on the Hurricanes final that was on 2 weeks ago. You came ever so close, ended up being a 17-all draw. What could you have done differently in that final, starting with Toby?
It's disappointing to get the draw in the end. We came into that game with big belief, and then obviously the final result kind of left like a kind of an empty feeling, but that's how it works. And I think as a whole, maybe the start of the game we didn't execute as well as we probably like to. Our set piece was kind of sloppy, and just all round play was kind of not really going anywhere. And also the driving maul defence was, we trained that all week, and then obviously we just couldn't match their power up there, but they did well.
And of course, Connor, the forwards made a late charge in that second half when it looked like the team was down and out in the final, but they came back pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting in that second half. It was quite a tough battle, especially mentally. It was probably the toughest game I think we've ever had, and in my entire probably season in life, that was probably the toughest game I'll ever come to face.
And of course, Toby, just today, actually, you and alongside two other first 15 members made the Hurricanes under-18 squad. So congratulations for that. What does that involve for the rest of the year?
Cheers, Brad. I'm pretty sure we have like a 4-day camp in beginning of October, ending with, I think there's two teams that are named, and I think they play against two Fiji schools or Fiji under-18 teams on the Tuesday of the first week of the holidays. So, yeah.
And Connor, yourself, what's in your postseason? Have you got any rep games yourself?
I'm currently training with the under-18 Centurions at the moment, so I'm just looking at pursuing that, keep going to games for that. But otherwise, no. Big ups to Toby, Sinio, and Lennox getting in that under-18s training squad. It's big efforts, big well done to those boys.
Of course, Connor, this was pretty much your first year in the first 15, and you became a pretty reliable starter, being pretty much all over the forward pack. Explain your development this season.
It started off a bit rocky, especially coming into the season. There's already been a lot of boys that have already played in the first 15, so it's just trying to find where I fit in that puzzle. Especially coming into set piece like lineouts. This is probably my really first big year of jumping and getting into that. So I found it quite difficult at the start of the season to really keep going, but with the boys' support, I pursued, became a better player, I'd thought, and with what we've accomplished, I believe I had. And all big ups to the boys and what we've accomplished this season. So it's all been thanks to them that I've been able to pursue and go that far. So.
And Toby, yourself, really cemented the number 2 jersey this season. In particular, you had to battle your way to get the starting hooker position last season, but you've made it your own this season.
Yeah, it's good to have a few other good boys in the squad to really push everyone's abilities and make sure everyone's fighting for spots. And this season I was probably lucky enough to obviously pick up that captain role, which made it a bit easier. But it was good to get consistent game time.
And of course, what was your reaction to be named captain, and what were the expectations that come with what is pretty much a unique and special role at the college?
Yeah, obviously, when I was named captain, I was really stoked. Thought it was a great honour, and at the start I was probably a little bit nervous and kind of worried about how things would go. But there's a lot of good leaders in the squad. I'm kind of just one with the title, but we all worked as a team. Emmanuel Solomon, Senor, all these other guys that have been in the team for a while. They really helped me out, and we all just worked together as a team, and obviously it worked out in the end.
And of course, this season, a new coaching setup. Tim Mannix moving to being director of rugby at Silverstream, and Mitchell Forbes and John Herbert stepped up to the plate. What have they brought to the First 15 program this season?
With Tim stepping down and moving into his new role, there was a spot open up, and Mitch obviously stepped in there as he was assistant last year. But I think Mitch he brought in a really good team culture. He's really approachable and easy to talk to. So if we've got any issues or anything we want to put by him, he's always open ears. And obviously with John Herbert up front, set pieces is a specialty, and obviously this year we've had quite a dominant scrum, and our lineup was functioned pretty well. So that was a key area of our game, thanks to John. And
Yeah, and of course you mentioned about the scrum, which has been your strength this season. And what else was key to the scrum being successful besides John Herbert's wisdom around there?
Yeah, it was kind of we had a strong scrum last year, but we were kind of maybe in times we weren't pushing as a team, and we were kind of on our own a little bit. So this year, with the help of Pete Cowan, he's come in to help us out a bit. We've kind of got into this. We've just kind of built this really good formula of just pushing as an 8 and just working as a unit instead of just individuals.
And of course, Connor yourself, you've played all over the place at the in the scrum department. Tell us about how you found it.
Our scrums are just a deadly weapon this season. It's been a true pleasure working with John Herbert and working with the boys and creating such a dominant scrum. I've bounced around a few positions from 6 to 7 to the locks to the 8. I've been all around the place, but hooker and prop, thank the Lord. But I found that our scrums this season have just been brutal. It's been fantastic, going into that set piece, going to those scrums, and it's a weapon.
Both of you, I want to ask you this question. For probably about half the season, the scrum was so dominant that a member of the Welland College traditional, the front row was actually going up in the air and nearly went to the moon. But after that, there was a bit of a clampdown on your scrum. Are you a bit of a fit? What's your thoughts on this 1.5 metre push? And should it be that in the top grades of First 15 rugby, it should be removed? What's your thoughts?
We obviously had a dominant display against Dub C, and then I think, I'm not sure on the details, but I think the referees, like the Wellington referees, got in touch and kind of just told us to fix maybe just some of our sloppier stuff and really just stick to that 1.5 metre push rule. It kind of brought but it's kind of made us focus more. Like with that 1.5 metre push, we kind of had to scrum a bit smarter instead of just relying on the brute strength. But the rule is kind of I understand why it's there. It's for safety and stuff, but I guess rugby is a contest, and when you're limiting that, it's kind of defeats the purpose, I guess. But I understand why it's there.
Of course, this season, Tim Mannix is the director of rugby. And, well, he's only been in the job roughly about 9 months, but the fruits of that change is really coming to fruition. The rugby program's won a number of titles this season, not just the First 15. Either one. Go ahead.
I'll leave that question to Toby. I think he'll be more suited towards that.
This season, with Tim stepping in, there's been like a real culture change. Everyone's training together and everyone's really working together as more like a rugby program instead of just rugby teams. Like the seconds are training with the first, the 15s are training with the seconds as well. And obviously it worked out, the 15s, seconds and first all won. And he's kind of just, Tim's really just, pushed simple rugby, and it's kind of worked out.
Of course, the season started pre-season, ironically, against Fielding High School. And then you played them in the Canes semi-final. What has changed since that first game until that semi-final? What were the big turnarounds for the First 15 program? We'll start with Connor on that one.
Oh, yeah. So the big changes just throughout the season. We at the start of the season, we're going up against Fielding. We'd swapped on basically an entire another team because we were still going through that developing stage and all that. And over the time after the first 15 was selected, the boys just got better and better and better with each game, and we just developed more as a team. And it obviously showed with how far we've gone through in the season, how well we've done. And against Fielding, that second time, I'd like to say we really brought it. I believe we did quite well against them. There were a few mistakes we could have fixed up, and we did extremely well getting to that far. So I'm proud of the boys.
And of course, there's one part of the world where it's pretty hard to win in traditional rugby, and that's Palmerston North Boys High School. And Toby, that was one of probably the games of the season where you actually won at Palmerston North, which can be a very tricky place to play. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, it was early on in the season. I think we came off like a really solid win the week before against Gisborne, so we had the confidence. And obviously playing up there in the mud, it's quite a daunting experience. But obviously we got there. I think our defence won us that game. We were just really relentless, got in their faces and made our tackles. And then obviously at the end of the day, we were up on the scoreboard, which is good.
Scots College just before the most recent school holidays, and the team was pretty light on cattle. Got off to a good start and then held on, and that's the first 15 haven't won out there for a few years. Both of you tell us about that game against Scots because it came right down to the wire.
Yeah, we had a few boys out that game. I think Tavis, one of our main locks, was concussed. Lennox was with the New Zealand baseball team, I think, and Connor Vlas was with the New Zealand volleyball team. So, yeah, we were pretty low on some key players, but we had Seconds boys come in. They stood up at the end there. But yeah, it's a daunting place to go as well out there, Scots. It's always windy and really dark and gloomy. But yeah, we held on. They played really well. I thought in the second half they came back. That line-out drive try, they got there, and then they were probably unlucky not to get another try. But yeah, just proud of the boys to hold on and defend really well in that last 5 minutes, I think, to get the turnover.
Connor, the town traditional. Definitely probably the first 15 will probably call it the worst game of the season, probably being honest.
No.
What did the team learn from that match? Because it was played on a pretty horrible day, but Town really muscled up that day.
You can definitely say that again. That day was a bit off, wasn't it? But no, that was a tough game. I think personally, I don't think we were there mentally. We rocked up, and it was quite quiet among the boys. Our warm up was quite quiet as well, and going onto that field, no one was had the mojo. No one was like there to win. And when we went into the game, they were just their mindset was there. They had the determination to just push through and crack on. We were a little bit slow behind that. We learned from there on that if we want to continue going through, we need to get that mindset of we have to win, and that was something we were bestowed upon, I guess, and it's what we sort of learned from that game to really just get that mindset and get ready to crack on for the next one.
And of course, 3 or 4 weeks later, to play them again in the final. And Connor, tell us about that build up to the final. What was the keys during the week that got the team switched on?
What switched us on? It had to be the team. Everyone knew how big of a game that was and how much it meant to a lot of the Year 13 boys leaving, because we've got a few of them. I believe we've got it's either 12 or 13 of us boys leaving, and leaving with a good note, on a good note, winning is what we needed. And so it was through our trainings we pursued, and we switched on. We knew what had to be done. We knew the work that we had to put in, and obviously we did it. We did what needed to be done. We did the work, and we came home victorious. Big ups to Town. They played amazing. They did. It was a tough game. Weather was also a bit iffy, but no, it was a strong game. Well done to the boys for that one.
And of course, Toby, the final played, as Connor mentioned, in what was pretty heavy rain. It was wet. It was the third game of the day on Jerry Collins' #1 after the Pride and the Lions. Was this the complete team performance in your opinion?
Yeah, I thought it was it was had memories of the first game with that weather. I thought it was going to be similar sort of rugby play, and yeah, I thought in the first half we weathered the storm really well. I think that first 10 minutes, that first 15 minutes of just real, intense rugby, we kind of weathered it a little bit. They got that try at the start of the game, but I think we came back with fast-paced rugby and got was it 2 tries in the first half, and we're up by 15 points at half time. So I thought the start was really strong, and then obviously in the second half we we wanted a strong finish and just to bring the intensity the whole 70. And I thought in the second half we were just as strong, and obviously at the end there holding on to be victorious.
How hard is it to back up after playing the Wellington final, and then you've got to play fielding the next weekend? How hard is it to bring yourself back down to preparing for another big game?
Yeah, it was obviously really tough. I think obviously both physically and mentally, because you've reached the peak in Wellington obviously, and you're celebrating and you're on a high, and then come Monday you've got to go back to work, and obviously the bodies were a bit sore, and the start of the week was a bit slow and probably a bit messy in our opinion, and obviously we had to pick that up by the weekend. And yeah, obviously the Saturday game, it was against Fielding. It was another really physical game, probably one of the most physical games I've ever played in, and yeah, we managed to get ourselves back up that mountain and survive another week.
And of course, due to the draw in the Hurricanes final, you missed out on being the first Silverstream team to make the top four. What were your thoughts on the top four tournament, both of you, from last weekend?
Yeah, the top four, it's obviously the big goal everyone has in mind at the start of the season, and obviously once we had made it past the semi, we obviously were gunning for it, and obviously we missed out just. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of good rugby, entertaining. I thought Napier were very strong. I thought in my opinion, I thought they were the deserved winners on the day, but obviously that last minute try obviously put them in second. But I think, yeah, the all round rugby was quite good, and it was good to see Westlake and John McGlashan there for the first time, I believe. And yeah, so I thought it was pretty impressive. Yeah.
Of course, both year 13, and really there's only about 4.5 weeks of actual teaching and classes left for both of you. What are your plans for both of you for 2023? Let's start with Connor.
I'm still actually. I've just been given another option recently, so I'm still deciding between a few clubs at the moment. I'm just looking at my opportunities and where I can go and what offers the best sort of environment for me to continue to learn and practice rugby. And I'm still just juggling on which one I want to go to be honest. So.
And Toby, what's your plans for next year?
Next year I'm looking to go to university, study a commerce degree. So I'm either looking at going to Otago or staying here in Wellington. So just kind of going through the applications and stuff just to weigh out my options. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Seems to be a trend with commerce degrees, Silverstream boys. I went down the BA path, which was called the Bachelor of Attendance. But anyway, of course, Sevens rugby is just around the corner. Will we see both of you playing Sevens rugby on Labor Day?
No.
No, I think you've all had a pretty busy season enough as it is. Let's start off, finish up with these lot of questions. What was your favourite game of the year? Start with Toby on this one.
Yeah, definitely, probably the Premier One final, definitely.
And Connor?
Had to be the Dub C game. I love the atmosphere. The boys that brought the special equipment, the chainsaw and the weed whacker. The weed whacker was a bit off, but the chainsaw, that was definitely a great environment to be around with the boys supporting us, and just the atmosphere of that game going into it was insane, and it's something that I'll hold dear to my entire rugby season, because that was probably the best game I thought of my season.
Of course, there's two big games. Of course, one of them's coming up not so far away, but Wellington and Hawke's Bay this weekend. It's a Renfrew Shield match, the 100th match between these two. Do you think the Lions can do it? Because 2 years ago, I went up there and ran over a magpie, and we ended up getting 40 points put on us.
Yeah, I think they can do it. Hopefully, Peter has a stormer.
Of course, Peter Larkey, first 15 2 years ago. He was on the Hui a few weeks ago. He's actually having a storming season, and he's a product of what Tim Mannix has set up there at the college.
Yeah, he's a great guy, Peter. Managed to play a few games with him in Year 11, but yeah, he's awesome. I hope he goes well.
And of course, the Fort's on tonight. It's Bledisloe Cup 1 at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. Who takes the W tonight?
The All Blacks going to get up tonight, I think. Yeah, I'm backing them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's always a tough one. Melbourne's always been a tricky place for the All Blacks. And, of course, pretty much that's the season, but it's been a joy covering the first 15 this season in the Premiership, the highs and the lows, but it's been one of the best Silverstream first 15 seasons for a number of years. And Toby and Connor, many thanks for coming on the Huddy Hui tonight. Well done on a fantastic season, and hopefully we'll see you around the traps in 2023.
Yep, will do. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having us on.
No
Thanks,
worries.
Brad. Thank you. Thanks for recording our games, and
Yeah.
No worries.
Nice. Good man.
All good. Thank you, man.
Good.
And so
Thank you.
Silverstream first 15 season, and an absolute thrilling time, and winning the final after having to draw the final with Scots last year. They took it away this season and capped off another great year for the college. And so that's the Huddy Hui for tonight. We're going to do one more Hui for the year. It's going to be our 70th episode, and then we're going to take a break for the summer, because we've already done about 29, 30 episodes so far. So we've got one more next week. We'll find out who our guest is later on. So have a look on our Facebook, Instagram, etc. You'll find out who that is at the start of next week. So that's the Huddy Hui